the Pioneer viewers, how are you doing? I hope you're healthy and well. As the Pioneer team, we continue to share with you the developments regarding Russia-Ukraine war. In a moment, we will share with you the developments behind the front line. As it is known, one of the most important events of the Russia-Ukraine war is undoubtedly Vladimir Putin's wrong decisions, leaving the Russian army in a difficult situation. As the Russian army is in a difficult situation, the situation on the front line is becoming increasingly difficult. As the losses of the Russian armed forces increase, frightening news continues to come for Putin. As it is known, there was a very important factor during this war: unmanned aerial vehicles of the Ukrainian armed forces. Unmanned aerial vehicles, which created a new development in the world of modern warfare, provided significant advantages to the Ukrainian army. In this process, the Russian armed forces were severely affected by the unmanned aerial vehicles of the Ukrainian army. Recently, a report reached Putin's desk in the Kremlin palace. After this report, it is reported that Vladimir Putin, the head of the state of the Russian Federation, experienced a great fear. So, what are the latest developments on this issue? Let's take a look together. Before moving on to our report, I would like to make a small reminder. As the Pioneer team, we continue to share our reports on Russia-Ukraine war with you. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so as not to miss our daily reports. You can also support me and my team by using the super thanks button below the videos. Thank you for your support. Let's start if you are ready. The Pioneer reports. So the war between Russia and Ukraine is in full swing and the front line is very active. The troops of both armies are fighting fiercely, and the Ukrainian armed forces are still very strong. Despite all the claims, the resistance is still not over. The troops of the Russian armed forces are tired. Both the lack of sufficient support to the front line and the strong resistance of the Ukrainian armed forces have worn out the Russian armed forces. The situation has been aggravated by the drone attacks that have taken place one after another in recent days. As I've mentioned at the beginning of this report, the Ukrainian armed forces are gaining a significant advantage by using unmanned aerial vehicles. The operations carried out by the Ukrainian armed forces have caused a severe trauma to the Russian army. Especially the operations carried out by the unmanned aerial vehicles have a heavy trauma effect on the Russian army. Recently, according to reports, a Russian ammunition depot was hit again. And at the same time, a secret operation that the Russian Federation was trying to carry out was revealed, and the Ukrainian armed forces units managed to prevent this operation with unmanned aerial vehicles. So recently, a report on this issue was sent to Vladimir Putin, the president of the Russian Federation. Allegedly, Vladimir Putin, the head of the state of the Russian Federation, had a temper tantrum after reviewing this report, because in this report, the shortcomings of the Russian armed forces and the advantages of the Ukrainian armed forces were clearly written. Therefore, Vladimir Putin, the president of the Russian Federation, was more furious than ever. According to reports, the Ukrainian armed forces troops had made a huge difference to the Russian army with their unmanned aerial vehicles. So recently, Dmitry Rogozin, former head of Roscosmos of the Russian Federation, prepared a report, and the statements in this report contained a very critical information for the Russian Federation. In this report, which was prepared about the unmanned aerial vehicles named Babayaga by Ukraine, the following statements were included. Ukraine's Babayaga unmanned aerial vehicles from the entire drone fleet by preparing heavy, large attack unmanned aerial vehicles with the drones flying in pairs at night. The night sky over Ukraine is full of unmanned aerial vehicles. Babayaga is extremely dangerous for the troops of the Russian armed forces. Babayaga unmanned aerial vehicles are capable of flying at a speed of about 60 kilometers per hour, or about 37 miles per hour, and these drones are very powerful. However, other unmanned aerial vehicles belonging and being developed include more agile and faster models. We can say that it is much more difficult to defend against unmanned aerial vehicles at night. Unfortunately, Russia does not yet have a similar unmanned aerial vehicles that can carry the same ammunition at night. Baba Yaga's size means that they can carry a significant amount of ammunition that threatens Russian forces. Babayaga drones are large, multi-purpose Ukrainian unmanned aerial vehicles usually designed as quadcopters, hexacopters, and octocopters. More than 25 months of the war has stimulated rapid drone developments. The Russian armed forces, to put it bluntly, are lagging behind. We still haven't caught up with the Ukrainian army. Of course, this is a difficult process, but this process could have been accelerated, but too many mistakes were made. No lessons were learned from mistakes. Perhaps even the reserve engineering practices could be at a different point today. However, since our army generally acted with these faulty moves and methods dating back to the Second World War, we fell short. Of course, it is not the only inadequacy of reverse engineering practices at the time. Our defense industry has also been inadequate. It seems that our defense industry has not reached an important point with the productions it has made so far. We still have a technology similar to what of the Second World War has, and the enemy is renewing itself fast. It had developed fast, and these further put the enemy ahead of us. If this continues, it is possible to say that a disaster is coming, and disaster is making itself felt. Urgent measures must be taken, and if measures are not taken, and the independence of the Russian Federation will soon be discussed. As can be seen from this report, experts in the Russian Federation have now openly recognized the superiority of the Ukrainian armed forces in the drone technology. At the same time, the experts clearly recognize that the Russian armed forces lack these capabilities. We have shared with you in our many reports, previous reports of course, that the breakouts of the Ukrainian armed forces in the field of unmanned aerial vehicles are very important. Our claims in these reports have now been more clearly proven by the statements of the Russian experts. The ability of the Ukrainian armed forces to maintain this advantage is in a great importance for the future. And if the Ukrainian armed forces maintain this advantage, the situation on the front line will be shaped differently. It should also be noted, President of the Russian Federation Vladimir Putin is very angry because of these developments and reports. This angry state paves the way for the President of the Russian Federation Vladimir Putin to make more mistakes. The Ukrainian armed forces need to act taking into account this situation. And you have something from me. Babayaga means boogeyman in English. So what do you think? How do you think the superiority of the Ukrainian armed forces in drones will affect the front line? What do you think about the future of the experts who prepared to report that angered Putin? Do you think Putin can make a move against these peoples? And what would these moves be? Let me know in the comments, because I read and I care a lot about all of your comments.